Hi everyone, Renee the Curious here, sharing something I learned today that is not going to blow your mind, but it is interesting insofar as it gives us a real life example comparison between two of the more powerful large language models that developers like us use when programming. Claude 3.5 Sonnet, my personal current favorite, and ChatGPT 4.0, which is also very strong and rumored to be updated recently quietly by OpenAI. So is it better than Claude? Well, in one simple coding example, we'll find out. And what is that example? Well, first, just to back up a little bit, one of the things that many of us do when we are developing is compare our, there we go, compare the models. So I have a bookmarks toolbar group that I sometimes use to compare Perplexity, which can search the web and do other things, with ChatGPT 3.5 Turbo, 4.0, Claude.AI, Sonnet 3.5, Mistral, Grok from Twitter or X, and Gemini and Grok Cloud, which is ultra fast for reasons of hardware and other things. But my favorite has been Claude for a few reasons, and I'll show you why. Now, where this came up today was looking at the logs for the back end of this website, gridatlas.com, which I developed with some other team members years ago. Shout out to Toby, Mark, and Dima, who helped work on the front end, which is in React. The back end is in Express. And I was looking at the PM2 logs to see how things are going. PM2, if you're not aware, is a process manager for Node applications that basically demonize processes in a good way by creating them as system-level services that run when the VM boots up. And it gives you logs and etc. So what did I notice today? Well, looking at the cron's process log, unhandled rejection. You may have forgotten to catch a promise rejection. Okay, it tells me where, so that's helpful. So what does that look like? Well, let's bring up the actual original source, and I'll give you 5 seconds to guess where or what is causing this error, right? Line 215. So you'll notice that this function takes in these properties. And so we have organization name, which is camel cased. In the database, according to supposedly best practices in Postgres and general SQL databases, we have a snake case for that column name, organization name. And someone, probably me, or who knows, used the wrong version when trying to compose the email that we use to send through SendGrid. So that's the error. Now, it's actually easy to spot for a human, even faster for an AI. And what I enjoyed about this process is what it taught me about Claude.AI and GPT 4.0. So let's start with Claude. And so what I did was, well, I pasted in the entire contents of the email service file, right? And then I said, please help me. Well, I didn't say please, but I should have. Help me understand and fix this error in my React application. And I find this part, the understand, it's really worth saying because, these models are not just tools for fixing software, fixing bugs that I wrote, but they're excellent teachers, and they can be if we ask them to. And so with the error, it answered, and I understand you counting the error, blah, 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 gives me the fix right away and then identifies that send charge failure and organization in the template. But that's not what was actually passed in. So it explains it quite nicely. And then it also suggests how I can improve error handling, which is something that I'm still working on. Man, it's the art of error handling. Okay. And then I ask it, good, rewrite the entire file, please, including error handling function send charge failed. So I'm referencing this token, this word, so it knows that I want this, and I just want the whole thing, which I should be putting in the original prompt, but it has a really good context memory, so I can say it later and it's fine. So it rewrites the entire email service. And at this point, it looked good. And I thought, hey, let's get a second opinion. And so what I did after it wrote this and before I put it in production is I asked my good friend, ChatGPT 4.0, do you see any problems with what Claude wrote? And this is where things get really interesting. And so it analyzes it in a couple seconds. And yeah, it's your code. Well, it's not my code, but I'll take it. Generally well structured, but there are a few potential issues. Variable naming consistency. Oh, I'm sorry, my bad. This is actually the old file with the bug. So yeah, it's analyzing the same problems and suggesting actually additional things to do to improve it, which I thought was quite nice. And so it rewrites the file with its suggestions. Interestingly, getting the organization stuff correct. So yeah, it's fixed that. And it's done a few other things too, which I'm not totally sure about, but and then it summarizes its improvements and corrections. Okay, and this is where I meant to say it gets interesting. How does your revision compare to this one? So now it's written something, and I'm now giving it Claude.AI's version, and it compares them. So let's scroll down. And yeah, your version, Claude's, includes try-catch blocks inside each individual. Yeah, so the more atomic error handling. So Claude.AI, according to ChatGPT 4.0, is actually better. At least better, more granular. BCC handling. So I hard-coded an email just to sort of troubleshoot email delivery. And it had the idea of creating an environment variable, which is actually more flexible. So I think it wins there. It did a little more refactoring than Claude did, but I like Claude's version. It's a little simpler. And then logging. So yeah, we log a bit more in Claude. So overall good. Both actually would work. The ChatGPT 4.0 code is not broken. It works. It's just a question of taste. And this is true with all programmers. You can have two developers that will write different solutions, and both can work. It's just a question of what you need and what you value. Then I took what ChatGPT wrote, and I asked Claude 3.5 Sonnet, how does your revision compare to this one? So this is kind of fun, at least if you're curious. If you're a curious nerd. And so, yeah, it just helped to kind of reiterate what I was seeing and feeling, that, centralized error handling, code consistency. So this is, I think, a really good experience in understanding generated code and also appreciating the relative strengths of each of these LLMs. And, just getting a second opinion. So in the end, I used Claude.AI's version to solve this problem. And it took about like 5 minutes. And, as a result, the gridatlas.com error in sending out emails is fixed. So that is an example of using multiple AIs in tandem to address challenges in software debugging and troubleshooting. Thank you for your time. Have a great day.